D here with Grail Quest Books, and I just finished The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. I'm going to give my thoughts about this, but right off the bat, the book itself deserves a good look at because this is, well, it's a work of art in more than one way. So let's take a quick look at it real quick and then come back and I'll give my thoughts on the actual content within. Okay, so you've seen the cover. Let's take a look at the spine. I still, after all this time I haven't, I just love that. That's probably still one of my favorite parts. So let's look here. All right, and now it's edges. Then you open it. Got your map, but it's actually not all. So before I get too far, I'm not going to show every bit of art, but I just want to show that yes, when you get to each part, there's more pieces of art. So yeah, the aesthetics of this book, really good. And I am a graduate student, college student, whatever, who focuses on the medieval in a lot of ways. So outside of the Suicide Squad advertisement for this, the aesthetics of this sold me just as highly. So those two aspects alone got me to get this and jump into Joe Abercrombie's works. Besides the fact that I thought it was a standalone. So I thought I'd try one, and if I didn't like it, I'd be done. But if I did, I'd go to his other stuff. But if it is a series, that's cool too. So yeah, initial thoughts, the Suicide Squad aspect, 100%. Like the whole time I was reading it, I was just thinking of the Suicide Squad issues I've read in the past, the movies, and how I could definitely see how that was a comparison. The characters themselves, yeah, they were probably my favorite part of the book as far as what is in here. The characters are fun, but they're complex for such a predictable book as I've heard as complaints for this. The characters were complicated. Their motivations, their backstories, themselves in the moment of this book. For example, Vega, she's the werewolf. You get glimpses into her trauma and her past and the reason why she is the way she is, and she's hilarious though throughout the book. They're also very sad. Then there's Jacob of Thorn. If I tried to listen to the audiobook some, so I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but he's an old knight, and how old you find out here, but he's complicated in a lot of ways. And then there's Baptiste, who she is hilarious. She's a jack of all trades. Then there's Brother Diaz, who I wasn't really expecting to like him as much until we really got going in the book and things started picking up. And speaking of characters that I didn't think I would like, Baron Rickard. He's a vampire. I thought it was kind of cool how his powers worked, but I didn't think that I was going to come out of it expecting me to be like, okay, I want to know more about this guy because of something that happens towards the end. Then there's Balthazar, who is in some ways very aggravating in this book, but at the same time he adds a lot of conflict and interest in, and he's a way for you to learn about a certain kind of like how Amanda Waller has the bombs in their heads, similar, but with some magic religion. And the religion aspect is very interesting, coming from like someone who's I don't want to say study it, but like I study the medieval. I have religion is not something that, like, especially the Christian religion is not something that I'm not unfamiliar with, and so, changing it from the father and the son to the father, and I think the daughter, it changes a lot, and the schism between the East and the West is it's gender based. It's separated based off of instead of it's based off of that and the hierarchy within the church. There's no crosses because of that. There's wheels and there's there's arguments between depictions of the wheel. Like it's not it's complicated, but it's not hard to follow. So the religion, like the religion, but just like in medieval times, it's important to the context of this world. But going into this, I didn't need to know all I know about history to pick up on the main points. And with that being said, because of the religious aspect and the stuff going on, Alex, her story is very important and plays a big part in that. And to I didn't expect the ending with her as far as what transpires relating to her character. So I don't want to spoil it too much because this is still really new. But I will say the characters are really good. The world, it's an alternate Europe, so it's not hard to really jump into. Um, yeah, coming from somebody who's never read this before, I would say if you want to read Joe Abercrombie, I did it. I think you won't regret this. The complaints about it being predictable that I've seen, who cares? If you predict the end, like I predicted a lot of stuff at the end. I didn't predict some things, but I predicted a lot of things. And I still had a great time. And I was in a reading slump. So the journey made it the best part because at the end, the final destination, kind of knew they were going to get there. They laid the groundwork for the fact that they're experienced in doing things. So yeah, the destination kind of wasn't the point. It kind of was. Like if this becomes a series, I could see it being kind of a point later on. But yeah, Joe Abercrombie, The Devils, great book, fun book, fun book. I couldn't recommend this enough to read. Laughed a lot. Don't normally do that like out loud when I read a book. So the fact that I was just hysterical at some points. Good book. So Girl Quest Books. When you hit the globe there, like, subscribe, do all the things you do. Talk about books more with me. I'd appreciate it. I'd love to talk about books with other people in the comments. Get suggestions. Maybe you know more about Joe Abercrombie. You could tell me where to start. So, if so, keep hanging around. Thanks.